Hi guys, today we will be discussing about nutraceutical roles of fats and fatty acids. So let's start with this one. So what is in the food? Basically the food comprises of the nutrients that further comprise of macronutrients just like carbohydrate, protein, fats and fiber and micronutrients and water. So among the macronutrients, there's fat and lipids that are actually classified from the food side. So when we talked about the lipids and the fats, uh, first of all, the concept of fatty acid that should be cleared about the fat. So the fatty acid that are essential fatty acid and the non-essential fatty acid based on that can be generated or not generated in our body. So that are not produced in our body that should be ingested from the outside food because they our body that cannot be synthesized such fatty acid. So among them there are several examples: linoleic acid, uh, eicosapentaenoic acid, eicosahexaenoic acid, alpha linoleic acid. So these are the some of the amine fatty acid that cannot be synthesized in our human body and that have the essentially required in our body. These are the structures for these fatty acids. For example, these fatty acids that have a COOH on one terminal and on the other terminal CH3. All of these fatty acids have the same structure, and this is the carbon chain length and double bond that shows the position of the unsaturation. So alpha linolenic acid, that is an omega-3 fatty acid, eicosapentaenoic acid, it's again an omega-3 fatty acid, docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, that is also omega-3 fatty acid. Uh, but when we talked about omega-6 fatty acid, these are the linoleic acid, arachidonic acid. These are the omega-6 fatty acids. Again, that is required in our body. So this is a brief about the fats and the fatty acids. Fatty acid that can be classified as a saturated fatty acid or unsaturated fatty acid. This unsaturated fatty acid that can further classified as polyunsaturated fatty acid and monounsaturated fatty acid. Most of the monounsaturated fatty acid that is required by our body, that is omega 6 9 fatty acid. While when we talk about the polyunsaturated fats, that is either omega 3 fatty acids or omega 6 fatty acid as we see in previous slides. On the other hand, this saturated fatty acid that are comprised of all the carbon to carbon single bonds. But monounsaturated fatty acid that have one double bond and polyunsaturated fatty acid that have more than one double bonds in their structure. What are the sources of these polyunsaturated fatty acid? Because the polyunsaturated fatty acids that are not synthesized, most of that are not synthesized in human body. So polyunsaturated fatty acid, for example, when we talked about omega 6 fatty acid that can be derived from the plant, if they are derived from the plant, mostly linoleic acid we are getting. In case of omega 3 fatty acids, this can be derived from either plant source or it can be derived from marine sources. So these are the two sources. From the plant sources, we are getting alpha-linolenic acid. It's a omega-3 fatty acid. From the marine sources, omega-3 fatty acid that can be ingested in the form of eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. Normally that is called as EPA and DHA. Some more examples of fats and essential fatty acids. Saturated fatty acid that can be, the source is the animal fats, butter, and lard. These are the common sources. For the unsaturated fatty acids, either it's a monounsaturated or the polyunsaturated. In case of monounsaturated, we have talked about omega-9 fatty acid. These are the olive oil. These are the source of avocados. These can be taken from peanuts. These can be extracted from almonds. So numerous sources are there for monounsaturated fatty acids. For polyunsaturated fatty acid, we will be talking about omega-3 fatty acid and the omega-6 fatty acid. Omega-6 fatty acid that can be derived from the plants, and the example is linoleic acid. Omega-3 fatty acid that can be derived from plant in the form of ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, flaxseed, soybean, walnut, rapeseed is the sources. Omega-3 fatty acid, as we have discussed, that can be derived from the marine sources. EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, that can be have a good source within fish and shellfish. Same is the case with the DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, that can be taken from fish and shellfish. Thanks. We are closing our lecture here. Thank you.